Well, it's great to get together. It reminded me of 26nd Avenue. You know, it's always a new beginning, because anytime we can come together and hear and chant, then all the pathways to the spiritual world immediately open. Serendipity is in the air, and all good things happen just from chanting the holy name and hearing from the Bhagavad-gītā. Tonight, I had an inspiration to read from the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, Modes of Material Nature. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. I first offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedānta-sūtra, Prabhupāda, to all the previous acharyas, and to all the assembled devotees. Vanchakalptarishya, Kripasiddevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Shri Bhagavad-gītā, Param Puhya Prakshyami Dhyananam Jnanavittamam Yat Gyatva Muneyak Sarve Param Siddhim Ito Gita. And the translation is, the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection." Purport. From the 7th chapter to the end of the 12th chapter, Sri Kṛṣṇa in detail reveals the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the Lord Himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has also been explained that it is due to association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature are, how they act, how they bind, and how one can transcend them and attain liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attained perfection and transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other processes of knowledge thus far explained. And knowing this, many attained perfection. Thus, it is expected that one who understands this 14th chapter will attain perfection. Text 2. Idam jnanam pashritya mama sadharmyam agata sarge kidupajayante pralayena vikantisha. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not bored at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Purport. After acquiring perfect transcendental knowledge, one acquires qualitative equality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becoming free from the repetition of birth and death. One does not, however, lose his identity as an individual soul. It is understood from Vedic literature that the liberated souls who have reached the transcendental planets of the spiritual sky always look to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, being engaged in His transcendental living service. So even after liberation, the devotees do not lose their individual identities. Generally, in the material world, whatever knowledge we get is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. Knowledge which is not contaminated by the three modes of nature is called transcendental knowledge. As soon as one is situated in that transcendental knowledge, he is on the same platform as the Supreme Person. Those who have no knowledge of the spiritual sky hold that after being freed from the material activities of the material form, this spiritual entity becomes formless without any variegatedness. However, just as there is material variegatedness in this world, in the spiritual world there is also variegatedness. Those in ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to material variety. But actually, in the spiritual sky, one attains a spiritual form. There are spiritual activities, and the spiritual situation is called devotional life. That atmosphere is said to be uncontaminated, and there one is equal in quality with the Supreme Lord. To obtain such knowledge, one must develop all the spiritual qualities. One who thus develops the spiritual qualities is not affected either by the creation or by the destruction of the material world. Text 3. Mama yonir mahat prama tasmit parpam tatam yam sampava sarvabhutahanam tatu bhavati bharata. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Purport. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahatattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation, and that total substance of the material cause, in which there are three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universes become possible. This total material substance, the Mahatattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature. Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.9. Tasmat etad Brahma nama rupam annam chajayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements beginning from earth, water, fire, and air are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahat Brahma, or the great Brahman, the material nature. As explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thereafter all living entities are born of this material nature. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice. But the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, so that the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all the manifestations of living entities in this material world. Text 4. Sarva yonishu kam Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasam brahmayat mahat yonir aham bija pradapata. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. Purport: in this verse it is clearly explained that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, is the original father of all living entities. The living entities are combinations of the material nature and the spiritual nature. Such living entities are seen not only on this planet, but on every planet, even on the highest, where Brahma is situated. Everywhere there are living entities. Within the earth there are living entities. Even within water and within fire. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature, and Krishna's seed-giving process. The purport is that the material world is impregnated with living entities who come out in various forms at the time of creation according to their past deeds. Text number 5. Sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhava nibbadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Purport: the living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the 3 modes of material nature. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress. 6. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam sukha sankena badnati yana sankena chanaka. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Purport: the living entities conditioned by material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless. All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status in nature. How they are differently conditioned is explained in this section of Bhagavad-gītā. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that, in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and the philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and As long as they have an attachment for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant. Everyone okay? Keep going. 7. Rajo ragatmakam ditti Kṛṣṇa sangha samudbhavam tan vivadnati kaunteya karma sangena tehinam. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material, fruitive actions. Purport: the mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between man and woman. Woman has attraction for man, and man has attraction for woman. This is called the mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops the hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, the man in the mode of passion wants some honor in society or in the nation, and he wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, he has to work very hard. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities and thus becomes bound by such activities. In order to please his wife, children, and society, and to keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole material world is more or less in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of the mode of passion. Formerly, the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what to speak of those who are entangled in the mode of passion? 8. Tamas prajnana jambiti ohanam sarvadehinam ramadalasya didrabdis tandibadnati bharata. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The result of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. Purport: in this verse, the specific application of the word tu is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. The mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of ignorance, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what. But the mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and a madman cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature. Vastu yathatmya jnana varakam viparya jnana janakam tamaha. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand a thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died, and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die. So death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they are very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very lazy. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they are not much interested. They are not even active like the man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient, but a man in the mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance. Text 9. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati rajakarmani bharata jnanam avrittitu tava pramade sajayatyuta. O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions one to fruit of action, and ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness. Purport: a person in the mode of goodness is satisfied by his work or intellectual pursuit, just as a philosopher, scientist, or educator may be engaged in a particular field of knowledge and may be satisfied in that way. A man in the mode of passion may be engaged in fruitive activity. He owns as much as he can and spends for good causes. Sometimes he tries to open hospitals, give to charity institutions, etc. These are signs of one in the mode of passion. And the mode of ignorance covers knowledge. In the mode of ignorance, whatever one does is good neither for him nor for anyone. 10. Rajas tamash chavi bhuya sattvam bhavati bharata rajas sattvam tamash chaiva tamas sattvam rajas tata. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance, O son of Bharata. Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there's always competition for supremacy. Purport: when the mode of passion is prominent, the modes of goodness and ignorance are defeated. When the mode of goodness is prominent, passion and ignorance are defeated. And when the mode of ignorance is prominent, passion and goodness are defeated. This competition is always going on. Therefore, one who is actually intent on advancing in Krishna consciousness has to transcend these three modes. The prominence of some certain mode of nature is manifested in one's dealings, in his activities, in eating, etc. All this will be explained in later chapters. But if one wants, he can develop, by practice, the mode of goodness, and thus defeat the modes of ignorance and passion. One can similarly develop the mode of passion and defeat goodness and ignorance. Or one can develop the mode of ignorance and defeat goodness and passion. Although there are these three modes of material nature, if one is determined, he can be blessed by the mode of goodness. And by transcending the mode of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness, which is called the Vasudeva state. A state in which one can understand the science of God. By the manifestation of particular activities, it can be understood in what mode of nature one is situated. Let's see if you have any reflections, comments, questions. Yes, go for it.
I heard a lecture Srila Prabhupada mentions there's a fourth mode.
Do you have a second mic, please? No. Anyway, you don't have another one, but hold that one when you give the talk. We'll pass around this little fuzzy microphone. You don't have to hold it right up there, but if you have it anywhere near you, then the devotees who are more capable.
I heard that there's a fourth mode, which is all three combined at the same time. I heard that in a lecture Srila Prabhupada.
Well, this verse is pointing out that they're always all combined at the same time. And there's only another state, which is called Shuddha Sattva. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabhitam Yete Tattva Aparita, mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in which there are no mixtures. So they're always mixed, and that's confirmed in the last verse we read, number 10, when they're always competing for superiority, which means they're mixing and mixing, and even the mode of goodness is not the pure mode of goodness until you come to the pure mode of goodness, which is to Mam Chayo Vyabhicharina Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sadhunana Samatitaitan Namadhyaya Kalpite. One comes to that Brahman position by performing devotional service. And then, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, from Vishudam Vyāsadeva Shabditam Yadiyate Tata Puman Apavrita, spoken by Lord Shiva. So because he's always transcendental to the passion and ignorance, he's in pure goodness. And therefore, Apavrita, there's no covering to what one sees the Lord directly from that position. Just as one, as Prabhupada said earlier, sees oneself as qualitatively the same as the Lord from the Shuddha-sattva. It's also mentioned in the paragraph that Prabhupada quotes several times, including on the Jala-dutta, starting with Sruddhatam Svakata Kṛṣṇa, Shravana Kirtana, Ridyam Tatstohi Bhadrani, Tidrinoti Suritsitam, Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu, Vidyam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhakti-uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki tada rajas tamo bhava kamalopradayasche chekayir anavidam stitam sattve prasidati. So he talks about how when one takes up the process of hearing and chanting, then Krishna helps to cleanse the heart. And then there's an interim stage, nashta prayeshu bhadreshu, when the inauspicious qualities of the 11 modes of nature are abating. And then tada rajas, at that time, at the time when one comes to Shuddha-sattva, tada rajas tamo bhava kamalopradayasche, it's naming these 11 modes. Stitam sattve prasidati, this sattve mentioned in the verse is not regular goodness from the material world, which is mixed, but it's unmixed goodness, Shuddha-sattva. So one can achieve that by devotional service. Yes, Lord Brahman, I agree.
I was thinking of the verse where Lord Krishna said, I am the secret Father of all beings. And I came across an article by Vaisesika Dasa, where he's commenting on this point that all living beings are sons of the Lord through Brahma. Brahma is the first son of Lord Vishnu, and then all other living entities are descendants of Brahma. In his particular time, historical time, there were lineages of Gaudiya Vaishnavas that were saying only the sons of an acharya can be an acharya. They're talking about biological sons. So Srila Prabhupada spoke out against that. Nityananda Vamsha. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he points out that actually we're all sons of the acharya. We're all descendants of Lord Brahma. First he says that actually sons refers not just to biological descendants, but also spiritual descendants, disciples. That also counts. But even if you take biology into account, we're all descendants of Lord Brahma.
There you have it. Case nice. Thank you very much. I didn't mean any particular case, I know. The whole case of being in the material world. Yes.
You know, this is not too obscure of a question.
You don't have to hold it close. It can be anywhere in chest.
But in the first purport it says we can understand this chapter through philosophical speculation. So I may be this obscure question, which is that when it says that the mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, whose desires and longings are they? They're desires and longings of conditioned living entities, right? So, what role do the living entities have? I mean, Krishna impregnates material nature with these living entities, but what role do they have in the creation of the material energy itself, or the three modes itself?
Well, there's a phenomenon that Jiva Goswami mentions called Pledataya Trava, that there's a way in which the three energies of the spiritual world, which are Ladini, Sambit, and Sandini, when they come in contact with material nature, they become the three modes of material nature. And then the effects of the internal potency, which is the foundation of life in the spiritual world, knowledge and happiness, ananda, then give the opposite effect in the material world. So a living being who comes in contact, as Kṛṣṇa mentioned here, with material nature becomes conditioned by that, by the material modes of nature, thinking that I'm part and parcel with the world, and sees something separate from God. To turn it around in the wrong direction, and then becomes abhiniveshita, absorbed in the modes of material nature. So the living entity is always the same in one way because it's always active. Nahi kashchit shanamapi jati tishtet karma karyate vasad karma sarva prakriti jayarvanai. Kṛṣṇa says, the soul, living entity, is always active in all circumstances. So it's active in the spiritual world, and when it comes to the material world, it's also active. But now, in touch with the modes of material nature, he's generating karma and also suffering because of the modes of material nature. So as they say in Thailand, same, but different. The same living entity with the same kind of desires, but in the material world they become troublesome. But when it's purified, then the living entity who desires for Kṛṣṇa then again is established in knowledge, bliss, and that's the connection. It has that connection with the Lord. As long as one's in the material nature, and then there's no intervention, then it carries on from one creation to the next. Asal gunamaya bhavya bhuta sukshmendriya bhavisva nirviteshu nirvishta bhute bhuteshu tadgunan. From the first canto, second chapter, Sutta Goswami says the living entities who don't come out of the material world, even after the annihilation, and they're taken into the body of Mahavishnu. He reside there for trillions of years, and then when he exhales, Yashaika Vishvasitika Lamtavalamya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadananatha Vishnur Mahan Saiha Yasya Kala Visheshu Govindamani Purusham Tavam Bhajami. There's this exhalation of Mahavishnu, and then all living entities come back out again, and the material world starts again. And at that time, Asal Gunamaya Bhavir, back in touch with the modes of material nature, and the Lord is so kind, he reminds the living being of what his intentions were in contact with material nature. He takes up his position again in the material world, heading off for Home Depot. If you want to ask again or refine the question, if I didn't quite hit the essence of it, you can.
So are the three modes in some sense, then, they're created for conditioned living entities by Kṛṣṇa, and then he impregnates, or are they, the living entities participate in creating material nature?
Yeah. First of all, when material nature is in a neutral state, when the Lord glances over it, he activates it. Part of that activation from his glance is the three modes of material nature. That's what causes the varieties in the material world. three modes, they mix. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 9, do the math. And then, as Prabhupada used to say, that there are combinations and permutations of these modes of material nature, and everything we see, it's the same 3 flavors, just mixed in various ways. And what is the participation? I think one of the ways I would think of it is, Kṛṣṇa describes, as we heard here, the difference between Kshetra and Kshetragya. And he talks about how there's Bhumir Apo Anuluvayu Kamano Buddha Ankara Ityame Bina Prakati. Okay, very simply, catalogs all the material elements, gross and subtle. And then he says, Apariya Vitastanyam Prakritim Vedimi Param Jiva Mahabaho Yaye Dandare Tejaga. Besides these, there's another energy of mine, which is superior to the lower energies. And those superior entities, albeit fragmental parts of him, are what's animating the material world. And because of their interaction with the modes of material nature, they create more karma and become perpetually entangled. But they are animating the material energy, and then under the influence of various modes of material nature, because they're conditioned by them, they continue to act until there's an intervention. Yes?
Hi, Krishna.
Hi, Krishna.
How are you doing? So I was really curious about the Gita 14.5. And the purport where it says the living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, is acting under the spell of the 3 modes of material nature. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies, and in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress. So you sort of answered a little bit what you said before, kind of touched on that. I would be curious, so when they're talking about later in the chapters about like transcending those things, of those natures, if the world is made of those material natures, and we have, because we're parts and partial of God and the world, right? As I understand that. I find in my own experience it's been highly helpful to have, where it says also which mode is more superior than the other at some point in life, yeah? This grappling, because it's a literal grapple and sometimes it's a battle between those modes that we have. Is it not a blessing to have those things in order to grapple through the karma and all the karmic reactions of our conditioning?
Can you say what you mean by things? Have those things?
Oh, sorry. What did I say exactly?
Isn't it a blessing to have those things?
Oh, to have those three modes, the passion, the ignorance, and the mode of goodness, to grapple through in order to realize the things that we need to realize. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you like that kind of thing.
Well,
it's a very interesting.
It's not about me liking it. It's just about how it is.
I'm being a little late, but I just wrote this morning or yesterday in a notebook, thinking in a similar vein. What is the material world anyway? It's meant to be didactic for us. We're supposed to learn from it to come to a point where we're supposed to learn from it to come to the point of ultimate surrender, unconditional surrender. And yes, those who appreciate the goal, those who know the goal of life, and then feel that they're grappling with the modes of material nature, can come to this point of appreciating that they're being challenged by the modes. For instance, Tate Yukam Ham Susamikshamano Bhujana Evapakritam Vipakam Hridbhava-purvya vidaram namaste jive priyo mukti pade sadayava. Brahma says in the prayers that he speaks to Kṛṣṇa in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, that very highly elevated person, devotee, sees the grappling with the material nature as Krishna's mercy. And he knows that the Lord's benevolent and is bestowing his mercy on him. And he also appreciates Tenu Kampam Susumi Bunjana Eva Akritam Vipakam. What is that word? How does that strike you, Vipakam? Anyone who's read the 5th canto knows about Kumbhipaka. Kumbhipaka is a hellish condition in which you get cooked alive. And so as Mukunda Datta, the pundit, he talks about how actually this is the condition. We put ourselves in the pot, we pour in the water, turn on the heat, maybe even with the spoon. It reminds me of Elmer Fudd or something. And he's stirring in the pot. And he said he did it to himself. He's doing it to himself. And there's a way in which, the essence of the verse is that the devotee is fully aware of the purpose of the material world and appreciates the fact that there's adversity. He's facing adversity, so he feels, oh, that's the Lord's mercy. He's reminding me that this is not my home, and it gives him impetus to surrender more. And he ends by saying, Sadaya Bhak, a person who has come to that form of enlightenment is eligible to inherit the kingdom of God. And incidentally, it's such an interesting phenomenon. Krishna discusses it with Uddhava in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. But there's a verse Prabhupada throws in various purports. Asango hyayo purushaha. He says it's from the Vedas. So asango means there's no association. Hi ayam purusha, for the living entity, the purusha, in the sense of it's a person, not the supreme person. But he said, actually, the living being has nothing to do with the material world. It's an interesting phenomenon because you don't belong here. You have nothing to do with it. You're saying, excuse me. If you go down to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Samadhi, as you walk in, there's a little building. I have no idea what it is because I've never been in there, because there's a big sign outside and it says there's nothing to see here. And that's the sign that Krishna puts on the outside of the material world. And for those who missed it, he gives them the Bhagavad-gītā. It says, excuse me, little fellow, but this is not your home. You don't belong here at all. So it's interesting. And also, Krishna says to Uddhava, there is no liberation, because you're never part of the material world in the first place. And the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this discussion about this phenomenon says, it's Maitreya to Vidura, and he says, it's like a person who's dreaming, and in his dream he sees that his head's being cut off, and he's horrified. Oh, my head's being cut off. He's like, wait a minute, if your head's being cut off, how are you watching it? I mean, you can do that in dreams, right? You don't have that? It's just me. You see your head being cut off, your optical nerves severed. How are you going to watch that? Besides, you're objectifying a horrible scene that's happening to yourself. And so Maitreya said this is the plight of the living entity in the material world. He has this false sense of himself. Even in waking consciousness, when we notice our body is one way or another falling apart. And if you're too young to appreciate this, just live longer and you'll see. At one point or another, it starts diminishing. And it's kind of an odd situation, because no, I'm just a young person. And you're like, yeah, but what about that thing you're dragging around? So we never actually mix with it at all. But by conditioned consciousness, abhiniveshita, we become absorbed in it somehow, because that's what we do as conscious entities. We get absorbed in things. That's what consciousness does. That's its nature. It becomes entranced in one thing or another. And if you put Coca-Cola in front of a living being and say, hey, this is nice, and then they go, okay, I'll drink it. And if you put the Bhagavad-gītā and you say, chant Hare Krishna, then you're a lucky soul, because then you get the taste that you're looking for, actually. But in the meantime, the grappling with the material nature, I wish I had my notebook, because I wrote it in a way that made sense to me. But it was along those lines. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow and read it. But it's something about the realizing or appreciating that, as you were just saying. It's a nice observation. Yes? Hare Krishna. Are we going to hand you a fuzzy mic? You don't have to hold it to your mouth anywhere close this way. That's not amplifying, it's just speaking to the people online who are watching crooked picture. There's something wrong with that?
Hi, Kṛṣṇa.
Okay, go ahead.
Please accept my respect. I had this question. Am I audible now?
No, you are. I'm just watching the picture. Go ahead.
So, we are studying all these three modes, so much analytical study, but I was thinking how I can relate it for myself. That I understand that in whatever mode we are to just surrender unto Krishna. So, if I'm going to study so much analytically these three modes, how it is going to help in my spiritual journey?
Excellent question. You might have noted that in the second to last purport, if it was that, Prabhupada talks about, what was the word he used about developing a practice? Through practice, he said, one can develop goodness, passion. It was in the last purport. He said by practice, one can develop ignorance. For instance, Prabhupada gives this example. He said, how do you learn to be a drunkard? You have to sit with somebody who's drinking. Is it possible to sit? Because I can't see them. Sorry. You need a tutorial on how to use that very fancy thing. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So Prabhupada said, if one goes to sit with people who are drinking, don't drink. Next thing you learn how to fall down on the ground and get back up. And all that. Mode of passion, join the stock exchange, you can practice being all in on developing wealth or whatever you want to do. Mode of goodness, you can practice. So, to your question, in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punyakarmam tedvan vāmohanir mukta vajanti mam dradavrata. Krishna recommends that you practice cultivating the mode of goodness. Because, he says, when you're in the mode of goodness, you can be very steady in spiritual life. People join in different modes of nature. They say, what's the difference? Because Krishna consciousness is completely transcendental. True. But people in the mode of goodness have a better time of it when they join in Krishna consciousness. It's much easier to start from that position. That's why there are all kinds of steadying features that come along with the culture of Krishna consciousness. For instance, Varnashrama really is an opportunity to feel somewhat stable in life. Unlike modern education, well, people run around, they go for computer science, so there's no question about it. But most people don't know what they're going to do, where they fit in. So there's supposed to be some idea of how you can, according to your psychophysiological nature, fit into a particular niche. And then don't worry about it so much. It's not really important. It's not what's important in life. It gives you 2 feet on the ground so that you can be steady in your practice of Krishna consciousness. And why is it important to know the modes of material nature? Because ignorance is dangerous. If you drive on the road and put on a blindfold, you'll probably crash. Pretty much about 100%. chance that you're going to crash into something with a blindfold on. And so Krishna gives us this clarity about how to navigate the world and not be overcome by the modes that make you stupid. The mode of ignorance makes you stupid. Have you ever done anything stupid? And then afterwards you go like, why did I do that? Well, how did it make you feel? Great? Not so much. You're like, I wish I never did that again. Okay, then practice the mode of goodness. You get in regulated life, you start getting clean, you put everything, place for everything in its place, you get your mind right. And when you get your mind right, then you can be dhridavrita, or determined in the practice of Krishna consciousness. So that's why it's such a nice science, because we have to do something with our bodies and minds. You can't just let them run and expect that you're going to sit down and chant nice japa. Why can't I chant nice japa? Rajas. It's running in my mind. Why? Because you looked at the Coca-Cola sign and you're absorbed in this and that. The other thing, it's a practice. In fact, everything we do is practice. If we're looking at random things, we're practicing looking at random things. Then what do you expect when you sit down to chant japa and you go like, everything's random. I can't hear the name even one time. It's like, that's what you practice. So we have ashram life. In an ashram life, you practice getting up at a certain time, going and associating with the deities and with the devotees, and eating transcendental food stuff and all that kind of stuff. And then one day you realize, I'm really happy. I've never been this happy. In fact, I just want to do this the rest of my life. In fact, maybe eternally would be a better idea. And that means, we're coming to the mode of goodness, we're becoming determined, and all of that converges into a life of happiness and devotional service. So that's why it's a good idea to know your modes. First time I read the Bhagavad-gītā, I remember walking around outside and going, I can see them all now. It's like suddenly I was given these glasses or something, like in that thing where the guy's walking around cursing everybody and they put glasses on, then he could see what everyone's going through and totally change. I felt like that after I read the Bhagavad-gītā. I was walking by an establishment and go, that is the mode of ignorance. I can smell it. And then, other places, people rushing by in their pickup trucks, ring, 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 would bash it. Get to the forest, mode of goodness. So, good to know your modes. Anything else? Yes. Please pass the fuzzy mic.
Hi. Before learning about Krishna, I was believing in pantheism. So I was thinking like, you are me, I am you, we are God. Now I understand that we are part and parcel of God, but it's not clear for me what is the purpose of individuality or having individual identity.
In one word, it's love. Because to have love, there has to be two. And it's a peculiarity of our ontological state that we're one with and different from God at the same time. Why? Because the one is anandamaya vyasa, full of joy. Joy wants to interact with others for the sake of sharing the joy, and the highest joy is love. Therefore, the whole purpose of us is to love God. We have no other purpose. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiratoksaje ahaitukya pratiyata yayatma suprasiddhiti. You'll find that in Bhagavatam 1:2-6. And there, an early conclusion is made at Naimisharanya in the forest. Sages all wanted to ask, are asking a similar question as you're asking. What's the purpose of life? And Sutta Goswami tells him at the outset, it's to love God. It's the whole purpose, to develop this loving association with God, loving relationship. So relationship means two. And that's why Krishna gives you an opportunity to also look elsewhere. In the material world, you get 8,400,000. Is that how many there are? 8,400,000 different rides to go on. Like if you went to Six Flags or something, and they had millions of rides to try them all out, and to become exasperated with the material experience and then turn to God. But the point is that if there's a king, another point, or similar point, is a king doesn't just mean king alone. King means kingdom, king means subjects who appreciate it. What's the use of being a king if you don't have people surrounding you going, you're really great? What kind of kingdom is that? That's no fun. And so what's the use of being God unless there's those who appreciate how great you are? And so that's our job. It's not a job, it's a pleasure to appreciate Krishna, and he reciprocates with us. As my godmother Sridhar Maharaj, Sridhar Swami used to say, what would you rather, be a sugar cube or taste a sugar cube? If you are the sugar cube, then I don't know what you get out of that, but if you taste a sugar cube, you have of course, none of us eat sugar anymore, right? I tried to give a cookie to a person who looked unhoused down in Santa Cruz. He goes, I don't eat sugar, man. So even it's gotten that far. So it's for love. Mentioned in the Vedas that God is one, but he expands himself. Eko, one. Bahusha. He expands into many for his enjoyment. And that enjoyment is loving reciprocation in these parts and parcels. Is that all right?
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to look at my watch. It's 12 minutes to 6 o'clock. Would you be open to hearing a little bit more from the Bhagavad-gītā?
Yes.
Okay. Let's take a 3-minute break to stand up and please introduce yourself to somebody here that you've never met before. And if I catch you talking to one of your friends,
What are you going to do?
we do got face recognition. Continuing, 1411. Did you have a nice break and meet nice devotees? It's hard to stop, right? Okay, here we go. Sarva dvareshu dehesmin prakash upajayate jnanam yaga tada vidyad pravritam sattvam ityutam. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Purport, there are 9 gates in the body. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the genitals, and the anus. When every gate is illuminated by the symptoms of goodness, it should be understood that one has developed the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one can see things in the right position. One can hear things in the right position. And one can taste things in the right position. One becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate, there is a development of the symptoms of happiness. And that is the position of goodness. 12. Loba pravritir arabha karmanam ashamas braha rajaste tani jayante rivide bharatarshuva. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruit of activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Purport: one in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. I'm going to read that again. One in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential home, he tries his best to have a palatial house, and if he would be able to reside in that house eternally. And he develops a great hankering for sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house, and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristics of the mode of passion. 13. Aprakasho pravritischa pramado moha evacha tamasye tani jayante vribadhe kurunandana. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. Purport: when there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. One in the mode of ignorance does not work by a regulative principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are the symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance. 14. Yada sattve pravridetu pralayam yati dehamrit tatotama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages. Purport: one in goodness attains higher planetary systems like Brahmaloka or Janaloka, and there enjoys godly happiness. The word amalan is significant. It means free from the modes of passion and ignorance. There are impurities in the material world, but the mode of goodness is the purest form of existence in the material world. There are different kinds of planets for different kinds of living entities. Those who die in the mode of goodness are elevated to the planets where great sages and great devotees live. Text 15. Rajasi pralayam gadva karma samgishu jayate tata palinas tamasi muda yonishu jayate. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Some people have the impression that when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down again. This is incorrect. According to this verse, if one develops the mode of ignorance, after his death he is degraded to an animal form of life. From there, one has to again elevate himself by an evolutionary process to come again to the human form of life. Therefore, those who are actually serious about human life should take to the mode of goodness, and in good association transcend the modes and become situated in Krishna consciousness. This is the aim of human life. Otherwise, there is no guarantee that the human being will again attain to the human status. 16. Karmana sukritas yahu satvikam nirmalam palam rajasastu palam tukam jnanam tamasam palam. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Purport. The result of pious activities in the mode of goodness is pure. Therefore, the sages who are free from all illusion are situated in happiness. But activities in the mode of passion are simply miserable. Any activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. I'll read that again. May I?
Yes.
Permission? Any activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. That should be a, what do they call it? Who said that? That should be a bumper sticker. Maybe a little long, but yeah, you could do that. It's called a non-starter. Any activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. It's a tattoo. Like here. If, for example, one wants to have a skyscraper, so much human misery has to be undergone before a big skyscraper can be built. The financier has to take much trouble to earn a massive wealth. And those who are slaving to construct the building have to render physical toil. Reads like poetry. The miseries are there. Thus, Bhagavad-gītā says that in any activity performed under the spell of the mode of passion, there is definitely great misery. There may be a little so-called mental happiness. I have this house or this money, but this is not actual happiness. As far as the mode of ignorance is concerned, the performer is without knowledge, and therefore all his activities result in present misery, and afterwards he will go on toward animal life. Animal life is always miserable, although under the spell of illusory energy, Maya, the animals do not understand this. Slaughtering poor animals is also due to the mode of ignorance. The animal killers do not know that in the future the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. That is the law of nature. In human society, if one kills a man, he has to be hanged. That is the law of the state. Because of ignorance, people do not perceive that there is a complete state controlled by the Supreme Lord. Every living creature is a son of the Supreme Lord, and he does not tolerate even an ant being killed. One has to pay for it. So indulgence in animal killing for the taste of the tongue is the grossest kind of ignorance. The human being has no need to kill animals because God has supplied so many nice things. If one indulges in meat eating anyway, it is to be understood that he is acting in ignorance and is making his future very dark. Of all kinds of animal killing, the killing of cows is most vicious because the cow gives us all kinds of pleasure by supplying milk. Cow slaughter is an act of the grossest type of ignorance. In the Vedic literature, Rig Veda 9.46.4, the words Gobi Prinita Matsaram indicate that one who, being fully satisfied by milk, is desirous. Indicates that one who, being fully satisfied by milk, is desirous of killing the cow, is the grossest ignorance. There's also a prayer in the Vedic literature that states, Namo Brahmana Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagatitaya Krishnaya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. My Lord, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas, and you are the well-wisher of the human society and world. You know where that's from? For those of you who don't have the book, it's from the Vishnu Purana. Lord Chaitanya used to quote from the Vishnu Purana, which makes it totally cool. 1.19.65. The purport is that special mention is given in that prayer for the protection of the cows and the brahmanas. Brahmanas are the symbol of spiritual education, and cows are the symbol of the most valuable food. These two living creatures, the brahmanas and the cows, must be given all protection. That is real advancement of civilization. In modern human society, spiritual knowledge is neglected and cow killing is encouraged. It is to be understood then that human society is advancing in the wrong direction and is clearing the path to its own condemnation. A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next lives is certainly not a human civilization. The present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. It is a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from the greatest danger. Doesn't it make it seem so urgent to distribute transcendental knowledge in such an environment where people are so misled? When I hear Krishna's words here, it's such a stark reminder of the danger of the material world. When involved in the world, what's wrong with that? It's okay. Everybody else is doing it. And so you read this, and then you think about how urgent it is to take to Krishna consciousness. May I read several more verses and we can have some short discussion? Yes. For long, whichever you prefer. 17. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso loba evacha pramada mohao tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. Sattvat means from the mode of goodness. Sanjayate develops. So something's developing the mode of goodness. Jnana, knowledge. Rajasa, from the mode of passion. Lobha, greed. Pramada, madness. Moha, an illusion. Tamasa, from... You see where this is going? Certain qualities come out. It's not all the same. Bhavata, develop a jnana, nonsense. Probably quotes it, translated as nonsense. Jnana, nonsense. Evacha. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance, develop foolishness, madness, and illusion. Purport. Since the present civilization is not very congenial to the living entities, Krishna consciousness is recommended. Through Krishna consciousness, society will develop the mode of goodness. When the mode of goodness is developed, people will see things as they are. In the mode of ignorance, people are just like animals and cannot see things clearly. In the mode of ignorance, for example, they do not see that by killing one animal, they are taking the chance of being killed by the same animal in the next life. Because people have no education and actual knowledge, they become irresponsible. To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing the mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober, in full knowledge of things as they are. I'll read it again. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober in full knowledge of things as they are. Then people will be happy and prosperous. Even if the majority of the people are happy and prosperous, if a certain percentage of the population develops Krishna consciousness and becomes situated in the mode of goodness, then there is the possibility for peace and prosperity all over the world. Otherwise, if the world is devoted to the modes of passion and ignorance, there can be no peace or prosperity. In the mode of passion, people become greedy and their hankering for sense enjoyment has no limit. One can see that even if one has enough money and adequate arrangements for sense gratification, there's neither happiness nor peace of mind. That is not possible because one is situated in the mode of passion. If one wants happiness at all, his money will not help him. He has to elevate himself to the mode of goodness by practicing Krishna consciousness. When one is engaged in the mode of passion, not only is he mentally unhappy, but his profession and occupation are also very troublesome. He has to devise so many plans and schemes to acquire enough money to maintain his status quo. This is all miserable. In the mode of ignorance, people become mad. Being distressed by their circumstance, they take shelter of intoxication, and thus they sink further into ignorance. Their future in life is very dark. And I'm reading through it occurs to me why people like these books so much. They get them, and it's the first time in their life they hear something commonsensical that connects with something they can do, and they become self-determining by just reading this one paragraph, right? It's remarkable what we're sitting on, what we have to offer to people. Remarkable. Let's go. We can try going door to door here on campus, see what happens. 18. Urdvam gachanti sattvasta madhye tishtanti rajasa jiganya guna vrittista ado gachanti tamasa. I know you want to hear the word for word for this one. I can hear it coming from there. Urdvam, upwards. Gachanti, go. Sattvasta, those situated in the mode of ignorance. Madhye, middle. Tishtanti, pardon me? Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Urdvam, upwards. Gachanti, go. Sattvasta. Those situated in the most goodness, they go up. Madhye, Tishtanti, Rajasa. Those in the mode of passion stay in the middle. Jaganya, of abominable guna, the worst quality, it's horrible. Vittista, those who are situated there. Vrittista, ada, down, gachanti, they go. Tamasa, persons in the mode of ignorance. It's so clear and non-fanatical. It's just saying, here's what's going to happen. It's almost like doing a lab experiment with chemicals. You pour this one and that one, and it's going to turn green. It turns out it'll catch on fire. Okay, those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. In this verse, the results of actions in the three modes of nature are more explicitly set forth. There is an upper planetary system consisting of the heavenly planets, where everyone is highly elevated. According to the degree of development of the mode of goodness, the living entity can be transferred to various planets in this system. The highest planet is Satyaloka, or Brahmaloka, where the prime person of this universe, Lord Brahma, resides. We have already seen that we can hardly calculate the wondrous condition of life in Brahmaloka. But the highest condition of life, the mode of goodness, can bring us to this. The mode of passion is mixed, is in the middle, between the modes of goodness and ignorance. A person is not always pure, but even if he should be purely in the mode of passion, he will simply remain on this earth as a king or a rich man. But because there are mixtures, one can also go down. People on this earth in the mode of passion or ignorance cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machining. In the mode of passion, there is also the chance of becoming mad in the next life. The lowest quality of the mode of ignorance is described here as abominable. The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. It is the lowest quality of material nature. Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life, birds, beasts, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to the development of the mode of ignorance, people are brought down to these abominable conditions. The word tamasa is very significant here. Tamasa indicates those who stay continuously in the mode of ignorance without rising to a higher mode. Their future is very dark. There is an opportunity for men in the modes of nature, there is an opportunity for men in the modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness. And that system is called Krishna consciousness. But one who does not take advantage of this opportunity will certainly continue to the lower modes. Let's take have a little more discussion. Any reflections, questions, observations? Tell us how you feel. Let it all out. Yes?
Question about how to understand the instructions relating to cultivating sattva, goodness, alongside the comments earlier in the Bhagavad-gītā that say, what can repression accomplish? Every man acts according to his own nature. Normally we think of the process of elevating through the modes as something that happens from one birth to the next, to the next, to the next. Are we stuck in what we are with our current conditioning, or what can we do?
Well, think of that context. What was Arjuna trying to do? He didn't say, I'm going to go off and chant Hare Krishna. He said, I'm going to go beg somewhere as a sannyasi and renounce the world, which was also a worldly thing to do. And so Krishna is saying in that context that what's going to happen to you is you're still going to be under the control of the same mode of nature, because that maneuver is not going to help you. That's why he goes on to talk about modes of nature and how to transcend them and so forth. And as far as our prospects go, they're excellent. First of all, as we discussed before, we're not even part of the material world, so we have that going for us. For starters, you don't even belong here in the first place. And there's a very encouraging section of the Vedānta-sūtra that Prabhupada quotes here in the Bhagavad-gītā, in which he says that, in which Vyāsadeva says that no one should consider that they're permanently unqualified. I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I'm talking about a sutra. No one can claim that they're permanently qualified. And the logic he uses then is that all these shastras are telling us, rise above the modes of material nature. He said, if the shastras are telling you to do that, it means you can do it. Otherwise, the shastras wouldn't make any sense. It would be illogical. He said, therefore, you can do it. And so we should take it from that and from the fact that all the sages are saying you can rise to take the process. And Prabhupada says in a lecture, there's two things you need. One is knowledge and the other is practice. And if you put those together, then you rise above. And as far as our contact with material modes of nature, I'm thinking of a couple of verses that juxtaposed and describe or give insight to the answer to your question. I'm going to do it backwards. Not literally backwards, but I'm going to say the second one first, and then you'll remind me of the first. Actually, I'll do it the other way. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasya ahankara vibhudatma kartaham iti manyate. Then the next one is tatvavitu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva visajate. So therein we find, in one verse, it seems like we're hopelessly connected to the modes of material nature. And then the next one, Krishna says, tatvavit. However, he's saying, if you become tatvavit means you have clear knowledge of the categories of energies that you're dealing with, including the qualities of the modes of nature and how to navigate them. From hearing this 14th chapter, tatvavit tu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva sajate. Such a person doesn't mix with those modes of material nature, becomes liberated. So on one hand, there's this seemingly hopeless situation from being Viniveshita, absorbed in the modes of nature, and Devahuti says to Kapila, it seems impossible to get out of this. Because she said, it seems like I am my body and mind. It really does, no matter what anybody's saying. So what to do about it? And Vyāsadeva answers, you have to hear for a long time from the right person and the right subject matter, and then you'll rise above the modes of material nature. So, mostly in the context of trying to make some adjustment to the material world. This idea is there that's why Kṛṣṇa in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā says there's fault in all of them. Just as smoke, just as fire has smoke. So every endeavor you make in the material world, whether you're doing it as a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, there's some fault. So don't think that if I don't like being a Kshatriya because I have to kill people, therefore I'll become a Vaishya. And then you're going to lose the lesson of being a Kshatriya, that if you go on with your duty and become Krishna conscious, then you rise above it. Because you're thinking that you're going to adjust it materially. That's not going to work, and you'll stay stuck in the material world. You have to take the transcendental path. That's my interpretation of the correct answer to your question. Okay, we have time for 0.1 questions. Yes. That doesn't amplify. It just talks to your friends on your unknown friends all over the internet.
I wanted to ask, while distributing books, how should we approach people in the modes of passion and the mode of ignorance?
Very joyfully. Like, hi, how are you? Yeah, just be friendly to people. It's so much fun. I'm glad you brought up book distribution because we don't know who's going to meet, and you can see the different combinations of modes in people. People are generally not purely in the mode of ignorance, although, some people are getting there. And then there's, passion, goodness, and you can, it's a real study in this chapter when you go out of book distribution. You observe people, and having read this, you can see, oh, I see that, that's like, yeah, he's like about 60% ignorance. He's got 20%, 20%, something like that. It would be nice though to have. They have these glasses now. You can, when you're calculating your AI glasses. But what if we could wear those on Sankirtan? Just look at people and like, yeah, that's like. But even then. Somebody, who was it who sent me a verse right before the Christmas marathon this year about, it was Dave Swami, about how if you're so eager to give somebody Krishna consciousness, it can tip the scales no matter what mode they're in. And that's one of the interesting parts about the living entity in a body made of the modes of material nature. The soul's still in there. And souls are amazing, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā. Sharivat pashyati kaschadena nascharivat vedati tataiva chanyahai. So this is the most amazing thing you're going to find in this world, this little particle of consciousness, part of God inside, a material body. It's like, how'd you get those ears and all that stuff? You look at somebody and go, where'd you get that? And you read the chapter. It's like, yeah, I got mixed up with the modes of nature and it popped out. Here I am. And then you're talking to him, a genuine living entity, right, from Kṛṣṇa, part and parcel. And Kṛṣṇa's right there with him, and you go like, this is amazing. And you can also see the body, and it's all these, and then you watch this struggle, because, you're showing them Kṛṣṇa, and Kṛṣṇa's going, yeah, that's me, right there on the page. And so that it's the greatest show on earth going on book distribution. So how do you deal with it? You go out with the sincerest intentions to create an intervention in the life of the soul, knowing that when you read this in the privacy of your home, you want to run out the door and give it to it, because who could read this and not become completely excited about their lives all of a sudden? And so then you want to go give it to everybody else. And then if you've read this, and then you're so excited about it, you're going to go, all right, I'll take it. Looking at you, I think I'll take it. So you just, how do we deal with people in the mode of passion? The question is, do you deal with people in the mode of ignorance and passion? It's like almost exclusively. That's what we do. That's our project. Confront the laws of nature. I mean, it's really hilarious to watch it too. We were out on Sankirtan in Denver, Colorado, going door to door. We had a nice, clean-looking group of devotees, and one of them's a doctor. I mean, a really good doctor, drives a fancy car, and he looks like somebody be in a magazine or something. So he knocks on this guy's door. It was in almost like one tick below the middle, almost the neighborhood, the apartment complex, just a little below the middle. In even some of the walkways, I was thinking, man, do I really want to go in there? And so the guy opens the door and he sees this beautiful looking devotee and goes, just slams the door in his face. And he's like, what's that about? What's your problem? And I said to him, is that the first time anybody's ever done that to you? He said, yeah, it's the first time it's ever happened to me. And you really haven't lived until you knock on somebody's door and they look at you for half a second and then slam the door. I mean, that's ecstatic. That's really fun. Because then you start thinking, like, what's going on here? How does he, why? What did I do? And then you get all kinds of realizations, like how the modes are working on people. Because, like, yeah, maybe he saw the Bhagavad-gītā, or just is annoyed. Vita Raga Bhaya Kṛṣṇa. He's intellectually disgusted. So if anybody looks like they're going to offer something of value, intellectually, he's like, there is no thing that anybody can offer. And you see Bhagavad-gītā. So it's the greatest chance. Jiva Mataji was talking about grappling with material nature. We deliberately do it by going on Sankirtan for our own edification. Because when we go out, then it's like you come back and it's, yeah, I get it, Kṛṣṇa. Thank you for giving me the guidebook how to do this and interact with the world. Anyway, we'll take it up again sometime soon, maybe even tomorrow. But we do have a question or a point online being handed, and it says Sankirtan Secrets. Is that what I'm supposed to read? What? Oh, thank you. He's the archivist. Anything I say, he knows where it is. Sankirtan Secrets. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, influenced by the merciful devotee's attempt to deliver fallen souls, enlightens the people in general from within by his causeless mercy. You want to hear it again?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay, this is from the 4th canto. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, influenced by the merciful devotee's attempt to deliver fallen souls, enlightens the people in general from within by his causeless mercy. I mean, give me a break. Okay, the devotee prays in his mind, "O Lord, please accept this person and deliver him from samsara." Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment on that verse above. That's a good place to leave it tonight. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Sri Panchatattva, Sri Ramananda Astasaki, Sri Prahlad Nrsimha, if you so desire, please enlighten us in the science of the 3 modes of material nature, so that we may conduct ourselves in ways that are utterly pleasing to you. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer, in whole or in part, please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vachakoparusha, Kripasadeve, Vijapatita, Vaishnave. Now we have 3 gifts for everyone who joins us.